Hey everyone, welcome to another tech review for artists. M4 iPads came out recently and today I'll discuss whether I think if it's worth the upgrade and if my iPad Air 4th gen is still reliable even after 4 years of usage. For context, here are some of the devices I've used. The Intuos 4 medium plus small size, Wacom Bamboo, Intuos 5 medium, Wacom Cintiq, 2019 iPad Pro, XP Pen Artist Pro 16, and Samsung Galaxy Tab S9. So keep in mind I'll be reviewing my iPad Air from this perspective. The specs can be found below in the description box. Procreate already runs smooth on the iPad, so I will now demo on a software called Heavypaint and see how it fares on the iPad Air. Heavypaint is a great app for digital artists because of unconventional brushes like the fan brush, which masks in colors quickly. The line brush is good for straight or angular marks like the ground plane or enveloping the beginning of a drawing. My color jitter is set to minimal, so I get just enough color variety. On closer inspection, you'll notice hints of subtle reds and yellows. This keeps my canvas interesting to work with. Alternatively, I use the polygonal brush to mask in color shapes. The chisel brush felt similar to pushing paint on the canvas. It's just immersive to see how the paint moves. I've used the chisel brush for the entirety of this painting since it feels similar to my Procreate Chroma brushes. And if I wanted to tweak brush settings, I can easily customize it to my liking. Now I'm painting with RGB sliders here, another unconventional method. Customizable color palette options in HP include HSV, RGB, and box, and the palette can be resized according to preference. The toolbar can also be resized as well or hidden. I can also favorite which tools I want, displayed in the toolbar if unhidden, or unfavorite them so the toolbar won't look cluttered. I customized the chisel brushes further to have more color jitter to feel more like my Procreate Chroma brushes, which you'll see more of later in this video. Current battery life initially lasted about 4 hours while painting. Recharging to a full battery took about 2 hours via USB-C cable. If the battery completely wears out, service replacement is a quick solution for this at the Apple Store. Clipping layers is a great way to paint within a specific layer. For instance, painting the light area of the chip's text. Time to get started on the character. I'll do a quick time lapse here while showing this iPad Air in action. Well, there were a couple of issues while working on HP on my iPad Air. Not sure if this was a bug in the app or an issue on my end. Sometimes I wasn't able to select any of my layers. It was as if the program froze. There were times it crashed while I was working. Luckily, I always make it a habit to save my work, and I always make sure to create file backups too. Perhaps the app crashed due to the file size and number of layers that I had. Alright, let's get back to painting. Despite these setbacks, it was still an enjoyable process to paint. I guess I was really excited with this one. And then there were some elements which I painted, but then ended up omitting afterwards to clarify the design more. Good design is not reached when there's nothing more to add, but rather when there's nothing more to remove. At the end of this piece, you'll notice that I omitted some of the texts to make the focus on the character and the chip's main title. To avoid any unfortunate crashes, I will export this and import into Procreate, which is a more stable painting app. And since I tweaked the chisel brush to mimic my Procreate brushes, I won't have to worry about changing the look and feel of the piece. To continue working on this on Procreate, I'll save each layer as a PNG. One perk about HP is that I can create bigger file exports without losing quality as the painting rebuilds itself to the new resolution. On Procreate, I'll import my saved PNGs on different layers, then it becomes a workable file. I rarely experience issues on Procreate, so I'll finish the painting here. I've initially had a lot of white space on HP, so I'll just crop it into a better composition that frames the subject. Here you can see all the PNG layers. I'm laying in more colorful marks using my Procreate Chroma brushes. You'll see more of these brushes in the Plein Air demo next. Finally, here's the finished painting study. When it comes to screen navigation, the iPad has always been smooth. There's no lag or subtle snapping, unlike with the S9 tablet that I reviewed. Sometimes I use the pencil's double tap feature, like using it in assisted drawing for symmetry. Double tap does work even with the sleeve on. I double tapped to turn off symmetry here first, then double tapped again to turn on symmetry. With the sleeve, detection is a bit of a hit or miss. This iPad Air has 500 nits max brightness, 12MP back camera, and 7MP front camera. I try to take photographs and paint whenever I can. I saw a pair of slippers and figured the owner won't be coming back for it anytime soon. So I decided to just paint it. More importantly, I wanted to see how my iPad Air's screen would perform when the sun's UV index is at 11. The sun was too bright and my max screen brightness could only offer me this much visibility while painting outdoors, and dealing with subtle reflections made the task trickier. I was operating on pure instinct here, not knowing if I was nailing my colors. Since the screen wasn't bright enough, it certainly felt like some overlay of black was being added to the colors that I'm selecting. So my best bet was to opt for lighter colors than what I would normally choose. After a while, the tablet heated up and I was losing battery juice. So I quickly took some photographs before heading back inside. Here's the Procreate painting time-lapse using my Chroma brushes. You can find the brushes in the description box below or scan the QR code. I used a combination of the grungy mark, solid mark, and opaque mark brushes. If you like painting with chromatic effects, I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with this brush pack. With the Paperlike texture installed, there's still some subtle light reflection, which I will be comparing with the M4 iPad Pro. I went to the Apple store in Dubai Mall to test the M4 iPad Pro and to see if it is worth the hype. The M4 iPad Pro's front cam is now 12MP, back cam still at 12MP, but I'm curious when iPad cams will have a higher MP like the newest iPhones. The camera relocation was a good decision though, and it felt more natural. The Nano screen had minimal reflection resembling shadows. However, the Nano screen is only available on the new 1 or 2 terabyte models. The Pencil Pro's nib felt rounded and blunter than my 2nd gen Apple Pencil, but feels somewhat more solid and durable. My Apple Pencil had more specularity, whereas the new Pencil Pro has more of a matte finish to it. Let's draw something on Procreate. For artists curious about the Nano screen, Apple seems to have only intended this for the anti-glare feature and doesn't have the matte grainy film or paper-like feel. Any reflection on the Nano glass is more diffusely blurred. This iPad Pro has 1000 to 1600 nits max brightness, but I think it needs to be brighter to be used outdoors, especially when painting with colors. Because the sun in the UAE is so intensely bright, the screen would look dimmer in comparison. Drawing on Nano glass is similar to drawing on my XP Pen Artist Pro 16, but XP Pen provides gloves to avoid palm friction, and their nibs have good bounce against the pen display. Without a drawing glove, palm movement around the screen is a bit difficult and restricted. You'll see me switch to an overhand grip here to allow more swing to my lines. For this reason, it's still awkward drawing on Nano screen. I'm used to drawing on a surface with a bit more tooth, so having a paper-like surface is still a game changer where the nib feels like actual graphite lead on paper. But for now, I'm gliding my hand across the screen for dynamic lines, avoiding any contact with my palm as much as possible. The hover feature started only with M2 models, which could have drastically enhanced the way I worked years ago. Brush size and cursor preview is of utmost importance while working. Most artists I know change their brush size ever so often before laying down a mark. That way, the brushstroke size on the screen can be gauged as to how big or small it would look like and where the mark would be placed precisely. Back then, it took me a while to acclimate to the pencil without hover feature, which involved a lot of guesswork and less precision. On another note, I hope Apple would make the next pencil with a built-in ergonomic grip, so it's less prone to slipping off my hands. Other brands have their own take on how an art stylus should look like. There's the S Pen with a pliable rubber nib, which provides a lot of screen friction and was nice for inking. Moreover, the Apple Pencil features a firm nib that does well in quick sketching and side sketching because of less screen resistance. Painting performance is also great thanks to its pressure tilt sensitivity. Since the tip has less friction, the nib isn't the best for slow inking workflows. M4 iPads may be faster and smoother with less lag compared to my iPad Air, but processing time and power efficiency difference is barely noticeable, unless one pushes boundaries like having a lot of layers, using bigger brushes, or file sizes. My current iPad Air is already a strong performing device, and I barely have any issues with it except with some apps. To be honest, I don't see the point of upgrading even with the new Nano screen, since Paperlike installation is still needed for better work performance. But let's say I do upgrade. For my purposes, I find the new baseline iPad or iPad Air sufficient and, dare I say, pro enough for my usage, and then simply install a new Paperlike film on top to enhance drawing experience. The first Apple Pencil came out in 2015, and it may be high time for Apple to create a pencil catered for artists, like having a better ergonomic grip, nib variety, and customizable buttons with a gear scroller like the XP Pen's X3 Pro Ruler to adjust brush size quickly. I find that doing line art was a better experience with the S Pen review I did due to its flexible nib, which sort of mimics a brush pen, allowing for slow and controlled inking. Here's some line quality testing with the Apple Pencil Pro. I'm a bit heavy-handed, so sometimes I find the Pencil Pro's inking a bit too abrupt for my liking. Not to say that it's subpar, but I noticed that its nib didn't adhere much to the Nano screen. Lower friction levels can lead to decreased control, causing lines to be less precise in placement and thickness. Again, this can be mitigated with a paper-like texture installed. The double tap and hover features of the Apple Pencil Pro have been beneficial for the reasons I mentioned earlier, but I find that the barrel roll and haptic squeeze features don't seamlessly integrate to my workflow. However, I'm aware that some people may find these new features appealing. Regarding haptics, I prefer pressing side buttons over squeezing a pencil for haptic feedback, which I reckon also drains the battery faster. As for barrel roll, it seems redundant unless I was doing pro calligraphy, where stroke thickness, thinness, and orientation are crucial. In Procreate, however, I can set the brush to 100% rotation to follow stroke, and the brush will make marks according to orientation. Gradual changes are definitely being implemented to the iPad and Apple Pencil, so I'm curious about what's next for Apple. I look forward to the day when we'll finally have artist editions. All new art styluses and screens with paper tactility, perhaps? Who knows? I'm pretty sure many artists in my field share the same sentiment. Despite the new tech, there's not much specifically catered to us. Thus, I'm not inclined just yet to get this version of the iPad and Pencil Pro. Practically speaking, not every artist upgrades every year, especially considering the high quality and functionality of most iPads that remain relevant even today. I hope Apple does more research in terms of what professional artists need, especially for those in the animation and video game industry. So, artists, what do you think of the new developments made? Do you think upgrading from an older iPad model is worth it? What else do you anticipate to see in the near future for the next line of Apple products? Make sure to comment your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching Brush Impact. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Happy painting, and I'll see you in the next video.